What is up, guys? Bob's here, back on the Kingdom of Retro Gaming, rocking my new Mario vest. Here we go. Now, what I've realized is the videos where I get the most views, the most interactions, the most comments recently have been my lists. We've done wacky licensed games, we've done crazy sports games, so we're going to carry that on with today's list, which is weirdest controllers for retro consoles. Okay? We're talking weird, wacky, wild, all the crazy ones. Okay? So we're going to break down my top 5. Let's go.
30 years ago, every console that was going had a ton of different add-ons. Whether it was light guns, arcade sticks, special edition controllers, you name it, consoles had it. And then we had the Wii. The Wii almost ruined peripherals for all of gaming. The Wii controller fit into everything. Baseball bats, golf clubs, fishing rods, steering wheels, bowling balls. You name it, the Wii had it. And I think it just became overkill. Since then, there have been very few nice controllers for modern day consoles.
But, as we always do on this channel, let's forget about modern gaming. Let's go back in time and check out some of the craziest retro controllers ever made. Let's go.
Number 1 is the Resident Evil chainsaw controller. Now this one hurts a bit to talk about because I should have one in my collection, but I was holding out until the seller dropped his price a bit and eventually it sold and I haven't seen one since. As you see here, I offered him 700 Hong Kong dollars and he rightfully said no. Then it sold for 880, which is only about 110 US dollars. And it goes for about 350 US dollars now. So it was a major balls up on my part, this one. But the chainsaw controller came out for the PS2 and GameCube exclusively for Resident Evil 4 in 2005. Designed by Newbie Tech, there were 50,000 of them made. And from the research I've done on them, it's quite clear that they were made with collectability in mind as opposed to practical gameplay. There are 2 versions, the red chainsaw for the PS2 and the yellow chainsaw for GameCube. They're designed to look identical to those used in the games by certain characters. Both have the D-pad, A, B, Y, and X buttons mapped to the face of the controller with L and R on each handle, with Z hidden away under the controller. They come in an awesome looking case, which really does make it look more like a collector's piece as opposed to a practical alternative to the regular gamepad. An awesome looking piece and one I definitely want in my collection. Number 2 is the Game of Life controller for the PS1.
I just graduated from college!
I'm gonna have a baby! Virtually anything is possible when your family plays the Game of Life on CD-ROM. Life comes alive like never before. You can really get into the game with 3D graphics and first-person car cam perspective that puts you where the action is. The Game of Life on CD-ROM for PC and the PlayStation game console. It's a whole new spin on life.
I'm going on spring break! Yeah!
Now, the previous entry, while specific to one game, was usable with each game in the franchise. The chainsaw worked with other Resident Evil games. However, this piece kind of baffles me. It is the Game of Life controller for the original PlayStation. Now, I genuinely enjoy the Game of Life. I've had the OG board game at home since I was a kid. I've even streamed the PS1 game with my wife on more than one occasion. But I really don't see the point of this controller. It is only compatible with the Japanese version of the game, which makes it essentially pointless to anyone who only speaks English, or any other language for that matter. The rest of the controller functions as normal, but then when it's your turn, you spin the giant wheel in the middle. Great. Now, one thing I have seen in my research is that a modern day modder has actually taken the controller and turned it into a handheld console where you can emulate SNES and Mega Drive games on, which is actually pretty awesome. But my final verdict is it's a pretty useless piece of hardware, but I still definitely want one for my collection. Number 3 is the Wu-Tang Clan Special Edition controller. The fact that this even exists is kind of nuts. One of the biggest rap groups of the 90s had their own video game, and it came with a Special Edition controller, which now goes for insane amounts of money. Released with the special edition version of the game, Wu-Tang Shaolin Style, in 1999, which was so graphic and violent that a special code had to be entered to see all the blood and gore uncensored. The game was renowned for allowing 4 players to fight at the same time. The controller had all the basic PlayStation buttons, but lacked the vibration capabilities and the joysticks of the DualShock controllers. And much like some of the other items on this list, it's definitely seen as more of a collector's item these days and not a practical gaming controller. Coming in at number 4, we have the characteristics. How have I never heard of this one? Literally never, not even a whisper. They were made for the Sega Master System and Mega Drive and the NES. They were produced by Cheetah International Limited, a joystick developer based in the UK, in 1992, and they took the form of various TV and film characters who were popular at the time of their release. These included Bart Simpson, Batman, the Terminator, and the Xenomorph from Alien 3. They were very basic, with the character-shaped joystick replacing the D-pad and then the A, B, and C buttons. However, due to the awkward shapes of the characters, the main fire button was literally on top of Bart Simpson's spiky head. It did not make for a particularly comfortable gaming experience. Doing my research on these, there is hardly any information at all, but I did find a couple on eBay, and to get a Bart Simpson one complete in the box, it's going to set you back over $200 US. However, I did manage to find a boxed Batman joystick for only 23 US. I will certainly be keeping my eye out for these, because as useless as they are to play with, they do look awesome and are a weird footnote in gaming history. And finally, coming in at number 5 is the Hori Katana controller. Okay, I didn't know this ever existed until starting my research for this video. This is one of the coolest gaming peripherals I have ever seen for any console. Made exclusively for the Japanese game Onimushi 3 on the PS2 and released in 2004, it is the Hori Katana controller. Shaped like a samurai katana sword, it retailed for $150 back in 2004, which is the equivalent of over $240 in today's money. Finding one today, CIB, is pretty tough, as only a few thousand were made, and some eBay listings can go up and over $470. But they look super cool. I'm not surprised that they didn't catch on, as the game they were made for, Onimushi 3, was a Japanese game and a hack and slash game, which may have put off some parents from buying a pretty realistic looking motion sensor sword for their kids to play video games. But it only works with the one game. So much like the Game of Life controller, it seems kind of impractical. But as a collector, it is certainly something that I'll be keeping my eye out for, and definitely something I want in my collection.